Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. We will chant together verse number 14 onwards. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yobhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate evam nyatva krutam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvaih purvataram krutam kim karma kima karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajñātvā mokṣase shubhāt karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Bhagavan has mentioned until this point few facets, few aspects about karma. Bhagavan said, in Manushya Loka, if we can invest our efforts in the right direction, with the right amount of intensity, if we can follow our instincts inside, follow our gunas inside, and find the appropriate field for expression of those gunas, he said the progress in Manushya Loka is very quick. Kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. I hear slight echo. It's a tough balance, voice and echo. You get one or the other. So in Manushya Loka, this siddhi is very, very quick. And Bhagavan said the framework for Varna Vyavastha, the four Varnas which are there, the framework, Bhagavan said, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam. These four Varnas have been created by me. But the moment some doership, as though is being taken up by the Lord, Arjuna might have a question. Bhagavan, you said you are Akartha. You are the one who does not have any kind of doership. How come these four Varnas you created? This is just one example, but any action Bhagavan does, Bhagavan doesn't do it out of incompleteness. Any action done by the Lord, it is not out of incompleteness. It is not even with the sense of doership. To emphasize that point, Bhagavan said, Namam karmani limpanti. In spite of, this is verse number 14, what we just chanted. This we had seen in the last session. Bhagavan said, no karmas, they leave any kind of impressions upon me. Unlike a jiva who is not alert, we saw there can be several layers of impressions left after doing that karma. We think if we are doing some karma or if we are interacting with some person, interacting with some object, we think it's just an ordinary interaction, we are done after that. But really speaking, Bhagavan says, nobody leaves any interactions just with that interaction alone. Means we carry impressions even after we come out from that interaction. What do they say? No free lunch. No free lunch. In a very subtle way, we have been gathering impressions not only in this life, but in several lives. And those impressions become the blueprint of our thoughts and how our personality is getting shaped. The uniqueness of Karma Yoga is, before going to Jnana Yoga, the uniqueness of Karma Yoga is that all impressions are auspicious. At the same time, the bhavana inside, in every interaction, is very, very pure. Bhagavan says this is one tapasya in 17th chapter, bhava shuddhi. Bhava shuddhi means purity of intent in every single act that this sadhaka does. It might be a very mundane act. It need not be something very earth-shattering or some very big task that he is doing. It could be a very simple task. But even there, he mentally bows down to the Lord and does that action with lot of purity. This is part of Karma Yoga. It is done with a sense of individuality. Individuality is not negated here, it is beautified. Some Mahatmas give an example of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. How do you understand both? If you see a beautiful picture, beautiful painting, the colorful painting which brings out the beauty in it, that is like Karma Yoga. The different colors, the flavors in which layering is done, everything in that picture which gives you joy looking at it outside, that is Karma Yoga. Paying attention to the canvas, which is the substratum of those colors, that is Jnana Yoga. The substratum of that beautiful ahankara, if we inquire, that is pure consciousness. In Gurudev's BMI chart, we see that Om. And then we see PFT, perceiver, feeler, and thinker. And what is the bottom line? Objects, emotions, thoughts. Before we can go to Om, it is said first we should work with vasanas and below. There is a V also, right? In Gurudev's BMI chart, vasanas and below. Meaning what? This person should be led to auspicious things. Objects should be auspicious. Emotions which are there, they are beautiful. Mind thinks emotions, and intellect thinks thoughts. Thoughts are also non-bothering. That is part of Karma Yoga. That painting should be beautiful to look. Color should be very nice. But at the same time, if our attention is just on colors, we miss that ever-present canvas which is behind it. Which is in fact the substratum on which the colors are appearing. That Shuddha Chaitanya is the substratum on which thoughts are appearing. But only when thoughts are calm, thoughts are beautiful, one can see beyond thoughts. That is the main sadhana here. Otherwise, our whole journey is constantly in this lepa only. Lepa means getting layers with interactions. And that layer gets thickened so much that we are unable to see our own true nature. And we had seen different facets of this lepa, that whenever we do some action, that attachment which comes even with that action, that is one lepa. And this thought also comes, if I don't do it, this work cannot be done. This is how the Gopabalas they felt. When Bhagwan lifted Govardhan mountain, right? Everybody had a stick. They said, Bhagwan, if you are tired, you let go of it. We have this stick, we will take care, you don't worry. Out of good heart, they were sharing it. Bhagavan says sometimes we feel like that in our vyavahara. That if we don't do something, this work cannot be done. Sadhaka feels, Bhagavan, I am grateful, you chose me for this work. Any work for that matter, if Bhagavan wants, he runs this whole creation. Any work that he wants to be accomplished, even without any individual, he can accomplish. This is the teaching later in the Bhagavad Geeta to Arjuna. Bhagavan says, don't think you are fighting this battle. Maya hatan tvam jahi. I have already done the work, you take the credit. That is his message. So this is one leper, this sadhaka is very careful. That whenever he does some work, very grateful that Bhagavan, you have given us this opportunity. Another leper is, once we start doing any work, we feel only we can do it, or we are entitled to do it. There is one famous nyaya called as Swasru Nirgacha Ukti Nyaya. Don't get intimidated by Sanskrit. It's very, very simple. Means what happened is, once there was a daughter-in-law. Somebody comes to their home to ask bhiksha. She says, right now there is nothing, come some other time. Like this she says, and he goes away. Her mother-in-law had gone to the temple early morning to do something at the temple. While coming back, she sees this person coming from their home. She asks him, what did she tell you? Why? How come you are coming back? He says, she told me right now there is nothing, come some other time. He says, how dare he tell you this? How dare she tell you this? She comes back, stands at the door. And guess what she tells him? There is nothing, come some other time. That is called as, now these are just nyayas, don't take it in some other context. This nyaya is just to say, certain things we feel only a person is entitled, other person cannot do it. That is a lepa, that is one layer of karma. Karma yoga will remove all these layers and bring lot of joy even before going to Vedanta. Vedanta is the final seal. Vedanta is the Mule Kuthara, it is called. Mule Kuthara means if there is a tree which is about to fall. Now how do they bring that tree down? Not by taking one leaf out. They have to strike at the root to remove that tree. So removing this doership, that is called as Jnana Marga. Keeping the doership, beautifying it, that is called as Karma Yoga. So in 14th verse, Bhagavan said, one who has done this Karma Yoga and has understood their nature as pure consciousness, that person is not tainted by karmas anymore. But here Bhagavan says, I am not tainted by karma, I am not affected by karma. One who knows me in this way, that person is liberated from karma. Meaning, how should a jiva understand? I am also that Shuddha Chaitanya, which is unaffected by doership. Bhagavan is also that Shuddha Chaitanya, unaffected by doership. Okay? Remember that lion and sheep example. That is one of the most precise example for this. Wherever such things are mentioned, this is called as Mahavakya. Whatever is true for Bhagavan, it is said is true for a jiva. They will not always say Tattvamasi. Only in certain Upanishads, they will explicitly mention Mahavakya as Tattvamasi. But in many places, one result will be said for Bhagavan, another result will be said for jiva. And it will be said both are the same. Means if you do this, the result that is true for Bhagavan will be true for jiva. Knowing Bhagavan to be unborn, jiva becomes free from birth and death. means that is Mahavakya. One should remove conditionings and abide in that Chaitanya and then appreciate that result for oneself. Okay. Then Bhagwan said, this karma topic is very subtle. That is why I will elaborate it. Kim karma, kim akarma, kavayaha api atra mohitaha. Even great people, they are deluded by this. Even those who are learned in secular world, they can be deluded by this topic of karma. That's why I am elaborating it more. And then 3 things were pointed out in 17th verse. All of these are technical words. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam. What does the word karma refer that to? We discussed this last time. Huh? Loudly you can say, don't. Shastra vihita karma. Little bit of notes you will have to take. Huh? Otherwise, reflection on this is very hard. At least the key points. We don't have to write down every word. At least the key points we should be able to remember. When we chant, all these ideas should become, at least they should ring a bell. If not elaboration, what did the word karma refer to? Shastra vihita karma. But what is the uniqueness of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagwan says, I will explain it in a way that we can practice in our everyday life. He is not again going to tell here the traditional Vedic meaning of yajna. How to do yajna? He says if you want elaborate Vedic meaning, Upanishads, well not Upanishads, Vedas are already talking about it. Upanishads also talk about it, little bit, not elaborate. So he is going to tell the meaning of yajna in a way that we can practice in everyday life. 13 different types of yajnas are going to come in 4th chapter. Then next word was vikarmanaha. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. What is vikarmanaha? Forbidden actions. Pratishiddha karma, forbidden actions. When we complete 4th chapter, I'm thinking we'll have presentations. Where all of you will come and speak on verses, maybe theme of verses. Don't start planning already, huh? Which verse you are going to speak on. Bodhavyam cha vikarmana. Vikarmana means what is pratishiddha karma and how to avoid this tendency of sin. In Bhagavatam it is said, Parikshit ji Maharaj tells Shukdev ji, human beings are such, we think so much about how not to do forbidden actions, think about prayaschitta. But our state is such, in spite of doing everything, we end up doing the same action over and over again. He says this jiva's condition is like kunjara shauchavat. Means an elephant taking bath in a pond. It spends long time taking shower in the pond, comes outside and dresses itself up with the same mud. Talcum powder. It takes it, again puts it on itself. Same condition as it was before. Another example is given of Sura Kumbha. Sura Kumbha means inside there is alcohol, but he washes the pot from outside in Gangaji. Means everything is being done, but the Sura Kumbha inside, that doesn't go away. But solution is beautiful. Bhagavatam it is said, Bhagwan's Nama Japa. That has so much power, it can not only remove the sin, but it will also remove the tendency to commit more sins. Now sin word looks very technical, but what it means is going against our own convictions. Whatever we have decided as a value, many times we see mind is not able to hold on to that value. Whenever in Bhagavad Gita, you would have noticed Gurudev uses the word integrated personality. What does he mean by that? Mind and intellect are integrated. Whatever intellect says, mind is ready to implement whatever the intellect says. That art in Bhagavatam it is said, comes through Nama Japa, comes through devotion. Art of mellowing the mind is the technique of devotion. Okay? Akarmanascha bodhavyam. Akarmana was
Sitting in solitude.
tushni bhava, sitting in solitude, withdrawing ourselves back and sitting in one place. These three things, Bhagavan says, I will elaborate in detail. Okay, so end of 4th chapter, at least little bit of elaboration we should have noticed in all these three topics. Bhagavan first takes akarmanascha bodhavyam. The third one for elaboration, he takes it first. He says many a times, if a sadhaka does not appreciate the teaching of Vedanta correctly, he will feel, only when I am withdrawn from the world, I am at peace. Only when I am in solitude, I am at peace. The moment I step out in the world, the moment I start interacting with people, he says that is when all agitation comes. So his definition of moksha is withdrawing somewhere and sitting in solitude in some place. Bhagavan says, according to Vedanta, the one who is a Buddhiman, one who is an intelligent person, how does he look at karma? How does he look at solitude? That elaboration comes in the next verse. If you can memorize this verse. It is the prana verse of entire 4th chapter. The heart of 4th chapter is in this verse. Karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krutsna karma krute karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krutsna karma krute. Once again we'll chant. Karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krutsna karma krute. 3 words, if you appreciate, this verse will open up more. The first word is Kartha. What is the meaning of Kartha? Doer. The one who wants to respond to the world. One who wants to respond to the world. That individual is called as Kartha. More we see in ourselves how this Kartrutva works, this verse will open up more for us. This very desire to respond, don't judge that response yet. Evaluating the type of response is part of Karma Yoga. What is a good response? What is a not so good response? That part is Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga is only telling us the very desire to respond to the world, that is called as Kartrutva. Perceiving the world in whatever form. Right now, I am doing the action of speaking, and I hope all of you are doing the action of listening. The very perception of sound makes us bhokta, experiencer. Now, sometimes you use the word enjoyership. And enjoyership, you always feel there should be some laddu inside, outside to enjoy it. No, every perception is a bhoga. Meaning what? From the time we wake up until we sleep, the one who is perceiving the world and responding to the world. Perceiving the world, responding to the world. That perceiver and the one who is responding, that is this Kartha, also called as ahankara. Also called as ahankara. also called as our name. It hits us more when we put our name there. Whatever is our name, we say this person is Kartha. One of our Swamiji, he would, even while speaking, he would make ahankara as drishya and speak. And so he will be speaking like this and he will say, this fellow. And it's very intimidating when you don't know what he is saying, If you are sitting next there, you start look to your right and say, what is he pointing out? But actually he's making ahankara drishya and he's talking to that ahankara. He'll say whatever thing which is said to ahankara, he will say, this fellow. Means his own ahankara, he is trying to make it drishya and speak to it. So that is Kartha. The one who is responding, he is Kartha. The response to the world is called as karma. Right? Now this is an applied meaning of karma. If you say, what is karma? My response to the world from morning till evening, that is karma. You want a technical definition? Any action which is done with kartrutva and which has vidhi nisheda, which is done with kartrutva and it has vidhi nisheda, means injunctions, do's and don'ts, that action is called as karma. Any action done with doership, but that action should have vidhi nisheda. It should have an injunction, do's or don'ts. That action is called as karma. If something is done without doership, that thing will not gain punya, that thing will not bring papa. Simple thing, we are walking. Right? We don't do it consciously. We are just walking around. We are breathing right now. We don't do it consciously. It doesn't have any vishesha phalam. But at the same time, if you do pranayama, consciously breathe, with a doership you breathe, that will be called a special karma, it will have special effect. Simple walking does not bring punya papa. But with sankalpa, you say, I want to go around Arunachala mountain for a parikrama, that brings vishesha punya, that is called as karma. In dream, there is no vidhi nisheda, what we should do, what we should not do. So whatever karmas are done in dream, they have no punya papa. But this is a technical definition. Simple applied definition is, my response to the world is called as karma. What was the first one? Karta. Second one is karma. Third word is akarma. Akarma. Third word is akarma. And akarma, in this particular verse, in the first quarter, refers to Shuddha Chaitanya. That pure consciousness, which is a substratum of this ahankara. Just like the rope is the substratum of that illusory snake, this akarma, which is atma, is a substratum of this ahankara. How do I pay attention to it? How do I find it? Where do I find it? Where will you find that rope? Right where snake is appearing, if I inquire into substratum, there I will find the rope. Right where ahankara is appearing, if I inquire into where is this ahankara rising from? Where is this ahankara setting into? That substratum is pure consciousness. This is the whole technique of Druk-Drishya Viveka. Druk-Drishya Viveka means seer and the seen. So just like if I am seeing the book, my eyes are different from the book. if I am seeing the abilities of my sense organs going up and down, my mind is different from my sense organs. Right? Whatever is seen has to be different from the seer. And the third step is, even my thoughts are seen, there has to be some entity which is different from my thoughts. This doership in me, that is also seen. That is the most difficult part. Because yesterday we were saying in Kena Upanishad class, most of the times we are sitting in this doer. We are sitting in this ahankara and trying to find where is ahankara. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi would say, the thief and the cop are the same here. So ahankara has to find ahankara because Atma doesn't do anything. Right? So through knowledge, it has to first shift attention to consciousness and make this ahankara as drishya. Make this doer as something which is different from itself. So that which remains when you remove doership, that thing is called as akarma atma. Now you see the verse. Karmani akarmayaha pashyet. Karmani akarmayaha pashyet. What was karma? Response to the world. Who is the one who is doing karma? Kartha. Kartha, the one who is immediately performing that karma is Kartha. But in and through that action, the one who is able to pay attention to that, akarma atma. What title does Bhagavan Krishna give him? Second line you see, Sabuddhiman. Manusheshu saha buddhiman. Amongst all human beings, he is the one who is buddhiman. What did he accomplish? He accomplished that part. In karma, even when karma was happening, he has developed this art or the technique of paying attention to that akartha, akarma, atma. Because he knows this kartha, first of all, cannot exist independently of that atma. Doer himself doesn't have an independent existence than consciousness. What to talk about the karma which is done by this karta? That is also dependently existing on consciousness. If we take some examples, maybe that will help this become clearer. First, let us see the second quarter. The first quarter was, in karma, he is paying attention to Akartha Chaitanya, pure consciousness. Karmani akarmayaha pashyet. So, akarma word there refers to Atma. Next class I will ask this. Now, second quarter, akarmani cha karmayaha. In this quarter, the word akarma is referring to akarma of ahankara. Meaning, he is withdrawing the ahankara and sitting in one place very quietly. In this apparent non-doing of ahankara, there also, he says, there is karma. If ahankara is withdrawn and it is made to sit quietly, in that he is seeing karma. In that he is seeing action. How does an ordinary person look at it? He says, if I have pulled back my ego, pulled back my ahankara and I am sitting quietly, he says that is solitude, that is not doing anything. The moment I interact in the world outside, that is all actions, in that I don't have any kind of solitude. He says Jnani is the one who can flip it around. In the midst of all actions, because he has understood the substratum to be Chaitanya, his attention is on Chaitanya. When ahankara is withdrawn, when ahankara is quiet, he says even that withdrawal of ahankara is also another action. Don't mistake that for actionlessness of the self. Self by nature is actionless. We don't have to make it actionless by withdrawing ahankara, nor does action of this ahankara affect the actionless self. The one who has understood this, Bhagavan says he is Buddhiman, he has accomplished the supremost purpose of human birth. We look at the last quarter. Saha yuktaha krutsna karma krut. Krutsna karma krut means whatever has to be accomplished in this human birth, he has accomplished through this knowledge. Meaning what? He knows himself as Akartha, Shuddha Chaitanya, that consciousness which is never moving, which is ever actionless. Whether action happens in ahankara or it is withdrawn, in both cases, he doesn't superimpose attributes of that ego onto the self. That is his accomplishment. That is what he has gained. Now, there are beautiful examples in our Upanishads which will clarify this point for us. This example is from Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Ghata samrutam akasham niyamane ghate yatha. Ghato niyeta nakashaha. Tadvat jivo nabhopamaha. What it means is, if you have a pot, the moment we bring a pot and our attention is on the pot, the space which is infinite gets the name pot space. Space which is infinite gets the name pot space. The moment you move the pot, ghato niyeta, if a person is not alert, what will he say? Pot space is moving. He'll say pot space is moving, but he says no. Only the conditioning is moving. That pot space is eternal, it is non-changing. Ghato niyeta na akashaha. In the same way, tadvat jivo nabhopama. Means that pot is like this ahankara. Whatever happens to ahankara, if one is able to pay attention to Atma, which is like that space, which is unmoving, is that person is Buddhiman. Meaning what? Whether the pot moves or the pot is still, space is unaffected by the movement of that pot. Who will be a moodha according to this verse? One who insists, if I have to pay attention to the pot space, stop the pot. Only when the pot is non-moving, that is when I can pay attention to the space. The moment pot starts moving, he feels the pot space also starts moving. That person is moodha. Means he is superimposing the attributes of pot onto that space. And if we are not careful, we will also feel that way. If pot is moving, space is also moving. Think of it this way. Can pot space exist? Or when did pot space, first of all, come into being? Only when attention was on pot. You cannot say, you keep the pot, give me the pot space. Only when attention is on pot, there is something even called as pot space. So our scriptures challenge us. Without identifying with body, without identifying with mind, without identifying with intellect, see whether this ahankara has independent existence or not. If you remove all identifications from ahankara, what remains there is pure consciousness. Aham devoid of body, mind and intellect. Aham devoid of all conditionings. That aham is not ahankara, that aham is Shuddha Chaitanya. What brings finitude in that is this conditioning of body, conditioning of mind and conditioning of intellect. Thoughts per se. That is where it is said, we don't have to go somewhere else to inquire where is that consciousness. Inquire right in that ahankara there only you will find that Shuddha Chaitanya. But what is the catch there? Don't include any anatma into this ahankara. Don't include body, don't include mind, don't include thoughts. Without thoughts, whatever I call as I, that same I is pure consciousness. So this is one example from Amrutabindu Upanishad. Pot is moving, movement of pot got superimposed on space. So really speaking, our nature is space, not the pot. The movement of the pot belongs to this conditioning. Even when the movement is happening, the one who is able to pay attention to that pure consciousness, that person is Buddhiman. In Sanskrit, words are very beautiful. Van and man means what? The one who has. If somebody has dhanam, that person will be called as dhanavan. If somebody has balam, that person is called as balavan. But if somebody has, or all of us have buddhi, Bhagwan has given everybody with buddhi, right? That's what we study in Tattva Bodha. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Antakarna is made with these four things. But can we get this title? He says, no. Buddhiman is somebody who can invest that buddhi to align thinking with scriptures. True Buddhiman in spiritual sense. If Shastra is telling us, even while you are speaking, remember that you are not speaking. Even while you are listening, remember that you are not listening. Even while you are walking, while you are interacting, if that attention can be on that Akartha Atma, that person is Buddhiman. And that person alone has accomplished the true purpose of human birth. Sayuktaha Kritsna Karma Krut. To explain this word, Kritsna Karma Krut, Mahatma share one story. They say there was a Sethji who sent his right hand, somebody whom he really trusted, to a neighboring village. He said, we have to expand our business now. You go to the neighboring village and tell them about what we are doing here. Get to know what they are doing and forge, some kind of business deal with them. So he goes, this person who was working under him, he goes. They welcome him so lavishly. Neighboring village, they welcome him lavishly. He reaches by afternoon time. They say, we have arranged Mishtanna Bhojan, Chappan Bhog. Please have it. This is the uniqueness of our place. So he has it. They say, okay, you have just eaten lunch, take some rest. Anyway, evening is there, we will do. Evening, they say, our folk dance in this village is very popular. Please let us go and see what is that. And then he says, this traditional dinner over here, you will not get anywhere. Chauki Dhani style. They will take you to a village, set up everything, and then they will serve you dinner there. We said, okay, anyway, next day, whole day morning is there. We will have our business conversation tomorrow. Next day morning, after a heavy meal, you know what time he'll wake up. Wakes up in the morning. And then something or the other comes, and finally, it is time to go back. And he comes back to the master, and he asks him, done? Whatever I had sent you there for. He says, no, master, I did not accomplish the work. He said, what happened? Did they not treat you well? Was there, a lot of difficulty in talking to them, or what happened? He says, no, they treated me too well. I got everything, but except what I had gone there for, that thing I didn't accomplish. That Mahatma Ji said, sometimes our story is like that. Bhagwan has sent us in this human body for a purpose. And if we don't pay attention to that purpose, we will accomplish everything else. Like that person. Morning till evening, he did several things. Not that he was not busy. You ask him, were you not working? He says, no, I was very much involved. But he says he missed the main point for which he was sent there. So purpose of human birth, Bhagavan says, is to accomplish that first line, karmani akarmayah pashyet, akarmani cha karmayah. In and through all actions, recognizing that actionless self. And in inaction, not superimposing that inaction of ahankara onto Atma. That has its own benefit. Solitude is a great practice. We are not criticizing solitude or saying it's unimportant. Solitude, if somebody can practice even at mind level, it brings lot of abilities to this mind. That mind can be deeper, calmer, can recollect more, can recollect the right things. That is the ability of Shanta Chitta. But because Shanta Chitta is there, we say, I have become Shanta. That is Adhyasa. And you know what is the shortcoming there? That mind cannot remain Shanta forever. Given our lifestyle, we should add that clause also. Given the life that we live, we'll be thoroughly frustrated if we attach ahankara's role to moksha. No matter how hard we try, we have to step into the world. He says there we should see that actionless self. Mahatma Jis, they have a unique way of telling. You must have heard this story. Somebody went to Bhagwan again, Raman Maharshi, and he said, can you show me God? Can you show me God? He said, I can show you, but I don't know if you can see it. I can show you, but I don't know if you can see it. He said, Swamiji, I can see it, you show me. And his only teaching was this. Only that much. Took his finger, moved from one place to another place. What is the message there? First line. Karmani akarmayah pashyet. In and through every action, he says, recognize that true self, which is actionless. In fact, every action is happening because of that actionless self. Body by itself does not even know what it's doing. Right? Body by itself is inert. It is just like this harmonium. Harmonium doesn't know whether I am patting it or I am hitting it. This body by itself is inert. The touch of life that comes into this body is this ahankara. Not Atma directly. This ahankara, when it identifies with this body, that is when body gets enlivened. But ahankara by itself is also not independent. Ahankara is like moonlight. Where does the moonlight come from? Moon doesn't have its own light. It comes from the sun. That sun is pure consciousness. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. That sun is pure consciousness. So even if you are seeing moonlight, attention can still be on sunlight. That person is Buddhiman. The one who starts feeling moon has its own light. Or he says, only when the sun rises, only then I will believe that sun is independent source of light. Whenever I see the moon, he forgets the sunlight. He says that person is a Buddhiman. Why call him Muda? A Buddhiman, mellower way of looking at it. Okay, but I hope this verse opens up more. Now there are more. Bhagwan Shankaracharya has written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages bhashya on this verse. So whenever Bhagwan elaborates any topic, that verse we should pay more attention to. Do you want to hear some more highlights from this bhashya, or should I go to the next verse? Okay, I'll just mention a few examples that he has mentioned there. he says, generally, whenever we hear this, right, we feel as though our scriptures are trying to hypnotize us. That in action, see inaction. In inaction, see action. Means you are trying to do some repetitive thinking by which you are trying to bring this bhavana. He says, no, we are already hypnotized. Vedanta is trying to dehypnotize us. He says there are so many cases where if we are not alert, we will see things erroneously. So first example he gives is of a person who is sitting in a moving boat. Person who is sitting in a moving boat, he sees the trees moving back in the opposite direction. If he is not alert, he sees the tree moving back in opposite direction. Meaning what? This Atma which is unchanging, Atma which is Akartha. In that Akartha Atma, he superimposes doership of Ahankara. Whenever he says I, he takes it for granted that I have to be a doer. Or I am a doer, that is who I am. That is my absolute nature. But he says, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji says, you are like that non-moving tree. If you are sitting in Ahankara and not paying attention to it, then the tree will look as something which is moving, but really speaking, it is unmoving. This is one example he gives. Bhagwan, our Goswami Tulsidas ji gives another example. He says children when they spin around, when they spin around and they stop, they feel the buildings around them are moving. Things around them are moving around. He says like this we are spinning in this world. And non-changing self appears to be having all the conditionings, doership and joyership, whereas that really belongs to Ahankara. So this example comes there. And then he says, something which is really moving, if we don't pay attention, that can look as stationary. Something which is really moving, if you are not alert, that thing can appear as stationary. What is this example for? The second quarter of the verse. Ahankara you have pulled back. But really speaking, there is karma happening there. Pulling back Ahankara is also karma. So something which is moving, that we see as stationary if you are not alert. What is the example? He says example is of the stars. Stars are really speaking, they are moving, but because there is distance, that moving star appears to be stationary. Or you can take Earth example also. Earth is revolving, rotating. Something which is moving appears to be stationary. So that star which is moving appears to be stationary. That example he is giving for Ahankara which is withdrawn. Akarmanicha karmayaha. That Ahankara which is withdrawn, in that there is karma happening. He said that is not Akartha nature of Atma. Okay, so those two examples he gives. Later on there is a technical discussion. That discussion is about Purvamimamsa. They talk about what is the meaning of this akarma. They say it is nitya karma. They take that example, but we don't need to go into that discussion. It's just to discuss with a Purvamimamsaka how they interpret this verse. By the way, on Bhagavad Geeta there are 600 plus commentaries. 600, huh? And every darshanika, every school of thought, their main acharya has written a commentary on Bhagavad Geeta. In fact, any darshana is called a darshana only if they have elaborate commentary on Bhagavad Geeta, Upanishads and Brahma Sutra. So if you say Dvaita Darshana, now their acharyas have written commentaries on all these verses. And they have interpreted in their way. Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, for Advaita Vedanta student, what all clarity is needed, that I will give in my commentary. So sadhana part, you will notice Bhagwan Shankaracharya really doesn't elaborate much. Not that it is unimportant. He says that we can take help from other teachers. Whenever it comes to sadhana part, his commentary is very brief. But Siddhanta, he will elaborate it so much. Okay, that's why you need to study multiple commentaries and then appreciate what to take from which place. If you take Siddhanta from some other darshana and sadhana from Vedanta, you'll be lost. Because Vedanta again and again hammers on Siddhanta part, sadhana elaboration is very little. But that doesn't mean we don't need it. Next one is the definition of a Pandita. We'll just chant the verse, meaning we'll see in the next session. Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagnidagdha karmanam tamahuh panditam buddhaha yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagnidagdha karmanam tamahuh panditam buddhaha. Arjuna, there are few people whom I call as Panditas. Panditas means those who have knowledge. Panda means knowledge. The one who has knowledge is called as Pandita. Who are those people? In them, Bhagwan Shiva has opened the third eye. This is the poetic way of representing the same verse. Third eye represents eye of knowledge. And when that third eye of knowledge is opened, this doership is burnt. Jnana agni dagdha karmanam. Jnana agni, not any other agni. Through the fire of knowledge, what was said in the previous verse has become true for that sadhaka. In action, he can see inaction. Inaction of ahankara, he doesn't mistake that for inaction of atma. This knowledge which has dawned in a sadhaka, he says that is this person, jnanagni dagdha karmanam. That person is a pandita. Now, with that, does he not do any action? How does he live in this world? He says he does all the actions just like any other person. But only difference is Kama sankalpa varjitaha. His actions have become like roasted seeds. They don't sprout anymore. Means desire doesn't sprout through his actions. Jiva's condition is, the moment he does actions, he gets caught in that cycle. Actions being impressions, impressions deepen his previous impressions, push him into more actions. He started doing it for contentment, but end of the day he feels he is more discontent through that action. So this jnani is somebody who is not seeking contentment through action. Jnanagni dagdha karmanam kama sankalpa varjitaha. Given up all kama and sankalpa. One whose actions are like this. Yasya sarve samarambhaha. Samarambha word here refers to karmas. That person I call as Pandita. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.